Alright folks, it's that time of the year where we take a retrospective look at our favorite games released in 2021 for the Nintendo Switch. I'll be doing a separate list for the Xbox, so be on the lookout for that as well. Obviously, if I didn't play one of your favorite games, it may not be here, but that also doesn't make it any less deserving of your own top 10 list. This is also exclusive to games released in 2021, so there are some gems that came out towards the end of 2020 that unfortunately don't quite make the cut, and one of them's even in my honorable mentions. My opinions also change over time, so some games may have held up better since I reviewed them initially, but these are the ones I found myself going back to the most or simply enjoyed when it was all said and done. Also, I will be giving away a physical copy of the #1 game on this list, as well as my future Xbox list. All you have to do is leave a comment of your favorite game released in 2021, and I will be randomly selecting a winner at the end of February. This is not affiliated with YouTube in any way or sponsored by anyone else, just me, and there'll be a link to the official rules in the video description. Good luck, of course, and here we go, my top 10 Switch games of 2021. Before we get too deep, I wanted to make note of a few honorable mentions. First up is Ori the Collection, a dual pack that contains both Ori and the Blind Forest, and its sequel, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Both of these games are some of the most beautiful and inventive Metroidvanias ever released. This pack was released this year, but both games released previously on the console separately, as well as long before that on other platforms. Individually, both games would have over 90+ ratings, and the dual pack of these makes it even better. I just think it's unfair to include it on this list officially, but do pick up the collection if you can, and it honestly is a must-have for your Switch collection. My second honorable mention is Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, a game that I could have sworn came out this year and was ready to put pretty high on my list, but after researching what games came out this year, it actually released November 10th of 2020. I guess I was just super late to getting around to playing it, but if I had a gaming channel last year, it would have surely made the cut. Another one of my honorable mentions is Crash Bandicoot 4. The game was released to other platforms last year, but didn't see a Switch release until this year. This edition of Crash feels right at home, with challenging platforming that embraces skill over anything else, and that classic chaotic Crash gameplay many of us grew up with. While it doesn't quite crack my top 10, I believe it deserves a shout out here as one of my favorite Switch games of the year. Another honorable mention comes Magic Twins, a game that came out in March but I just reviewed for the channel recently. I really like it, and it really scored high using my normal formula, but not sure if it has quite the staying power to enter my top 10 list. Regardless, this overlooked color matching puzzle game is a fantastic co-op experience and fully deserves at least a nod here. And my final honorable mention is Overcooked All You Can Eat, a compilation of the entire Overcooked series featuring mostly content from the games released prior to this year. The Switch version came out in 2021, but it wouldn't feel fair to put it on this list considering it's mostly remastered content from the previous two games. That being said, it's the best version out there, and to date one of the best online and offline co-op experiences on the console you can own. Just making the cut into the top 10 comes Little Nightmares 2, an atmospheric platformer and follow-up to the original. The game is a great light horror experience that is highly accessible to almost anyone. I reviewed it as part of my mini Halloween video special, which you can see here. There were some missed opportunities with it, but in the end was most memorable for the eeriness surrounding the game and the haunting set pieces you were thrown into, making it a game, perhaps more than almost anything on this list, that was extremely hard to put down once you got going. I never heard of Knockout City prior to it being released, but man was I pleasantly surprised by it. It quickly became my favorite online game of the year. While it doesn't perform as well on Switch versus other platforms, it runs plenty well enough in performance mode. It's also so hard to create a new concept PvP game in this modern era of FPS and Fortnite clones, so to be able to release a highly addictive, action-packed dodgeball experience with a completely fresh gameplay style is awesome, and the development team should be commended for their efforts. The Mario Party franchise has been on a steep decline for a while, and the half-baked effort of Super Mario Party did nothing to bring back the franchise. While in comes Mario Party Superstars, a modern remaster of some of the N64 classic minigames and boards. It does leave me wanting more at times, but allows me to play online with others in classic Mario Party style, something I've literally been wishing for over a decade, and finally, we have that chance. I really did not think this game would make my top 10 list, but after its most recent update, Bonito Days slides into my number 7 spot. If you follow this channel, you know I've played and discussed this game at length, but if you haven't, just know that this is the reincarnation of Monkey Target from Super Monkey Ball, but packaged in a full-fledged game with its own unique style. It's some of the most fun I've had this entire year of gaming. If I ever had 15 minutes to kill this year, Bonito Days is the game I just kept going back to over and over again. At number 6 comes The Wild at Heart, a game that could reach hidden gem status for me on the console eventually. Mechanically, it borrows concepts from other games to be some weird mix of Cardo, Pikmin, and visually reminds me of Knights and Bikes. The indie release went mostly overlooked by major game review sites, so I hope it gets some love as players stumble upon it, as its charming presentation and addictive gameplay are something a lot of people could get behind. I hope to do a full review of this game soon, so be on the lookout for that soon. And at number 5 comes Metroid Dread, a game that needs very little introduction from anyone. I was a bit hesitant when this game was announced, as I had my sights, I still have my sights on Metroid Prime 4, but this game should not be overlooked and is a well-made experience from start to finish. The gameplay harnesses that classic 2D Metroid style, where additional abilities and power-ups allow you to unlock previously unattainable parts of levels, a gameplay style that works as well as ever in Metroid Dread. Death's Door has already gotten a ton of attention this year, but in case you haven't played it or heard about it, well, here we go. It's an indie puzzle action adventure game that feels like a fantastic combination of Zelda and several other popular games set in dungeon settings. The final package is an incredibly tight and focused experience that in some ways is a love letter to old school gamers, but really can be enjoyed by anyone. I also hope to do a full review of my time with this game at some point, but until then, definitely check out this gem of an indie game. I love it when a game comes out that I've never heard of before in my life, but captures me from start to finish. That's what happened here. With Dodgeball Academia, yes, the second dodgeball game on this list. It's a cartoony sports RPG game where you play as a student and must work your way up the ranks of the academy, recruiting teammates and completing challenges along the way. The actual gameplay is kind of like Windjammers, but with dodgeballs, and the whole package comes together nicely. The experience was reminiscent of my time with Golf Story, another hybrid RPG sports adventure game for the Switch that was a pleasant surprise at the time several years ago. Released for the Switch in June, this remastered version of two of the best video games of all time, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, brings back the classic skateboarding gameplay that spawned decades of knockoffs and follow-ups even to this day. I remember playing the original on my N64 back in the day, and this game brought back that nostalgic feeling. But this remastered version doesn't just rely on that feeling, but also wraps both games with modern touches, online play, and the ability to play on the go on the Switch makes it one of the top games of the year. So I'm here to admit that Kiwi is the most fun I had playing a video game on the Switch in all of 2021, period. When it comes down to it, I've always felt the console shines the most when playing games locally with friends, and Kiwi went unmatched for me in that regard. Now, if you don't have a second person to play with this game locally or online, then I can't recommend this, but for anyone else, it's the perfect gateway game to bring together casual and more serious gamers. And the pure joy from the charm it has is something that I will always treasure when looking back at my 2021 year of gaming. Alright, so if you managed to stick around to the very end of this video, I'm happy to announce that I'm giving away a physical copy of Kiwi to one of you. Just leave a comment on this video of your favorite game of the year, and I will randomly pick a winner at the end of February. Good luck, and subscribe today if you liked this video. And make sure to watch my top 10 Xbox list as well, where I will also be giving away a physical copy of my favorite Series X game of the year on that video as well. Thanks for watching, everyone, and Happy New Year!